What is up, people? We're back with Down the Middle Podcast. I'm Ryan.
I'm Nomal.
I'm Ian.
We have a special guest today, Ian MacDonald.
Long-time friend.
Long time. How long? 19 years?
Yeah, I don't know. 19. We're
20 years?
22.
That was first grade, bro.
You're giving out
We were
government
3 in
information
first
right
grade.
I was 4 in first grade.
Damn, bro. You started
I
early.
started young. I started young, bro.
That's got to be like 15 years, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time.
Yeah, man.
It's been
First grade.
a lot of time to study artificial intelligence.
Yeah,
the
man,
last
I've been
15
doing
years.
it for all 15 years. I started in first grade.
So we're doing artificial intelligence today, as you can tell by the title, as what I just said. Ian, before we start, tell us why me and Nomal have changed our tone completely and brought you on to do this. What is it you know that we don't?
Hello. So I'm Ian, and I am a expert in artificial intelligence. So, to a little bit of background, my credentials. So, went to Temple, graduated, got a degree in statistics and computer science. Went to UPenn, and I'm now getting a master's degree in data science.
So he's kind of smart.
Yeah.
So,
And we do politics, and here we are in the Steam and Garage to talk AI. So you ready?
Yeah. Like a nice melting pot.
Yeah. So Ian's gonna do most of the talking, but we're
Yeah.
gonna get into it. This is a different tone of video.
Yeah.
This is we're talking a lot about the negative stuff around us right now. This is something that we're very optimistic about, a lot of potential, and just an amazing thing that's happening in our society. So we'll change the tone a little bit. We'll get into artificial intelligence. So, what is artificial intelligence?
what is artificial intelligence? So, artificial intelligence, broadly speaking, is just any act of getting a computer to try and think or emulate thought. To get to think like a human.
Now, simple question: when is it going to take over the world?
It already has.
Okay. So,
Nice. World domination.
Yeah.
now, our perspectives on artificial intelligence. Obviously, we don't have the master's degrees in it, but we still have done a lot of research or understanding it. So, what do you got?
So artificial intelligence is basically, I feel like, it's supposed to emulate the human mind. And it's more so of the modern technology in terms of AI. So computer science is what we've been kind of had more experience with, but AI is more so
Right.
the newer development of that, I'd say. Or would you agree or disagree with that?
So, yeah, I would agree. So,
Okay.
computer science is what everybody's kind of been exposed to. And everybody's been exposed to artificial intelligence in ways you might know, you might not even know. But the fundamental difference between computer science and artificial intelligence is that computer science is a fixed sequence of events, right? So, you have a computer program, you click a button, it does exactly, does what it's programmed to do. With artificial intelligence, you don't have it mapped to some fixed output. You don't really know what it's going to output some of the times, right? That's the whole thought process. It's thinking and then spitting something out. It's not like most computer science where it's programmed to do exactly one thing. So the easiest example that everybody would know is your phone, right? Most people have some sort of home button on their phone. You click that home button, takes you to a screen, right? That's computer science. You click it, it goes somewhere. You click your app, it takes you to the app. It's fixed. There's nothing you don't know about that. An example of artificial intelligence for any of you that have, a newer iPhone, like facial recognition, that is artificial intelligence. When they program that facial recognition software, they don't program it, with your face in mind, and they're like, okay, this is what Ryan looks like. Mm-hmm. Okay. Like every time you see this exact photo, you know it's Ryan or with Nomal. Mm-hmm. What it does is they have this software, they build this facial recognition software. You get your phone, it learns your face, right? And then, after that, it knows who you are. But it's not a fixed. You don't just give it a photo of you. You just you show it your face. It learns how to identify your face, and then after that, you can use that to unlock your phone. But it didn't come pre-programmed, knowing okay, when you see this, do this. It comes programmed to okay, learn something. Then when you see it again, do something, right? Mm-hmm. But it has to learn that. It doesn't just come knowing it.
So I'm assuming that AI would need to have a lot of data for it to even have those outputs, right? So
yeah.
How hard is to get that data, and how do they even get the data in the first place to have those produce those outputs?
So depending on the software, right? The amount of data is different, right? Mm-hmm. Some things like facial recognition needs a lot of data, right? The easiest way I can explain that is because if you have a sparse amount of data, it'll be relatively easy for facial recognition to identify us, right? The three of us look very different. Like if we had a facial recognition software built on just the three of us, it would be extremely easy for it to differentiate us. But it would differentiate us based on very general features, right? And it would not generalize very well. So if we built it with just us, anytime it saw anybody with red hair, it would immediately identify it as you every time. Right. And the red hat might honestly confuse it.
Yeah.
Like that's how bad it would be. So, and anytime it would see somebody that looked like one of us, it would just be like, okay, like this is them, because that's the only data it has. For it to work on a large scale, it needs a lot of data, right? And second question is, where did they get that? Places like Google, Facebook, Apple, all these companies. When they say they're tracking your data, they have all your data. They've got all of your data.
They know you better than you do.
They can, they can scrape the internet. They can find faces. There's no limitation to how much data they can find.
Mm-hmm. So with AI, I mean, what we spoke about the other day was that you give it the goal, and then it's going to adapt different ways and to achieve the goal. And if you don't set limitations on it, it will do basically anything to achieve said goal.
Correct.
So I was watching a video on it today, and it was kind of funny. So it was basically saying that like they put 2 points, point A, point B, and they gave an artificial intelligence program, body it could construct itself, and said go from point A to point B. And like you would think that it would build a body and then walk from point A to point B, but all it did was it just built itself super tall, and then it just fell over. Right. So when you don't set those limitations on it, AI is extremely intelligent, but in a sense, I looked at that and I was like, it's kind of just like a stubborn kid too. Like you don't give it those limitations, and it just will do whatever it takes.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting too, because when you mention that, it's like you have an idea of how someone should approach a problem, but then with AI, without those restrictions, it might even surprise you with something like that and actually show you a different way to solve the same problem.
Yeah, it can show you a possibility you didn't think about before, or it can do something like that where you look at it, you're just like, it reminds me when I used to work, my first job, the boss would tell me to go sweep the back room. I'm like, I don't want to do this, so I'll just take the broom and I would just kind of sit back there on my phone, but I'd sweep a little bit, and when he comes back there, I'd be right there for 3 hours. I was like, you just told me to sweep the back room. I'm still doing it. He's like, I told you to do this 3 hours ago. It's like, well, all you said was sweep the back room. You didn't say anything else, all right? It takes a while. It takes a while to do.
So, and that's a great point. So AI works very well when you give it a goal, but if you don't, like you said, if you don't give it limitations, it will achieve that goal by all means necessary. Mm-hmm. That can be a problem in a lot of ways, right? If you have, like, let's say you have a financial institution and you give it an AI that's tasked with the goal of just make money, right? So if that financial company, that AI determines, we can double our profits by just absolutely screwing over half of our customers and just doubling the profits of the other half, cool, like we've made more money. Let's do that. Yeah. Right. If you don't give it some sort of check, then it will do that. It will just do whatever it takes to maximize that profit. Right. So if it's like, okay, it doesn't know that that's like morally wrong. It can't tell morals. Like that's one thing AI will never be able to do. It will never be able to learn ethics.
And just to speak on that, I read something today about Amazon implementing AI into its hiring system, and the way they did it, they forgot to set a restriction on certain things, and it completely excluded women from the hiring process.
Wow.
Yeah, because I guess if you have to enter specific traits into the program in the first place for it to evaluate candidates, and if you put in traits that do not diversify in terms of gender, like the biological differences in men and women, you will completely rule out women from it. So there's a lot of human. Well, I mean, it's all human step in the first place to lead to this.
Right. Then to that point, it's a lot of the times you don't really know what you're missing until it's too late.
Yeah.
Amazon didn't go in there saying, "Ooh, all right, how are we going to screw over women today? How are we going to do it?" Right? So they went in there. They were like, "Okay, let's just find the best candidates." And they were like, they built this AI, and then they realized after, they're like, "Oh shit, we forgot that to have half of our workforce is women. We completely forgot about them." So I'm sure they didn't do that at the time, like on purpose, but they didn't think about it. So that's a lot of things you have to think about before you implement AI, and that goes in just about AI ethics. And that's with any field you have to have ethical there's ethical ramifications for any field, and you can see that. And sometimes it's complex, sometimes it's not as complex. But with AI, the difference is it's very difficult to tell because sometimes you don't even know, right? Your example with the AI that had to go from A to B and just built itself up, you didn't know it was going to do that, right? Yeah. So if the caveat, if it was building a bridge and it was like, okay, I built it's trying to get a person from A to B,
That person's
and you
going for a
didn't
ride.
give it the caveat. It's like the person needs to survive
catapult.
They're not gonna make it.
at point B. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's not.
Guy A
gonna
to B
work.
doesn't mean they'll be alive at the
So
Yeah.
there's a lot of caveats that need to be put in place.
So where do we see AI today? Like right now, like where do we see most of AI?
Where do you see most of it?
Like, in terms of like the spheres that they control right now,
in
in terms of our society, or like in business, or like
Well, you see it. You see it anywhere, right? Like I said, you see it. The second you open your phone, you've used AI, right? Facial recognition. Same thing with fingerprint identification. Anytime you watch Netflix, you're using their recommender system. They just put in that they did that new play something feature. That's AI, right? They don't. Netflix isn't behind the scenes saying, okay, like Nomal, I think you would like this. Like some computer just like, hey, Nomal watches a bunch of this shit. Like you probably like this too.
Oh, okay.
So you see it all the time. You see it with
YouTube
Amazon.
algorithm.
You see it with YouTube,
Yeah, I was
right?
gonna say the YouTube.
Well, yeah, when YouTube.
Kind of messing us up there, YouTube. Your AI needs a little fix. Get a guy in on it.
little censoring.
But you see it everywhere. You see it in YouTube. You see it in Netflix. You see it in Amazon when you're purchasing stuff. You might also like this, right? They don't. That AI is just trying to learn what you would like, in the hopes that you buy more stuff, they make more profits. So you can see it anywhere, right? You see it in like banks when you apply for a loan. They have some sort of AI that checks your stuff, make sure predicts whether or not you default on the loan. It's everywhere. So
And now, one thing we speak about a lot is censorship in the modern age, and how we've even been censored on TikTok.
Oh, wow.
Our TikToks are better than 190 views, and there's proof. Now, how did the AI censorship is a huge thing now all over social media?
Yeah.
We have censorship. How is AI implemented? How is that
In terms of censorship?
Yeah, in terms of censorship. Yeah.
Yeah. So companies like Facebook, Twitter, they have very extremely complicated algorithms to try and detect what they consider mostly it's mostly used to combat like hate speech, but also for censorship of of stuff they don't want on their platform. The difficult part of that is it's very hard to identify what is and is not hate speech. So you have, let's just say you have a tweet that just says, I hate a group of people. Okay, obviously hate speech. Obviously hate speech, right? But then you
Who
have
brought this guy on the podcast?
hey, listen, you gotta when you talk about that, talk about AI. It's legit stuff, right? So then you have another post that says, I can't believe anybody would say I hate blank, right? That's obviously not hate speech, right? Because they're saying I can't believe anybody would say this.
Yeah.
But it's very difficult. Like how do you differentiate those two posts? They both contain the phrase I hate blank. Right, just one is used obviously in a hateful tone, and one's used in a I can't believe anybody would say something so hateful. So that's one part of that is they create these text models that can understand human speech in a way, and it's very difficult to do. These require Google has a model that I believe. That's the new state of the art. Is one of them. It's like this model called BERT. It's just like it can more or less understand human speech, generate human speech. It's very or text. It's very believable stuff, right? If I gave you a page of text generated by this model, and I gave you a page of text generated by let's say a 7th grader, it's you probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Is it going to produce novels tomorrow? Probably not. Will it be able to produce novels in 10 years? That's believable. So it has these models that kind of learn how to detect the sentiment or understanding of text so that it can differentiate those two things. Because that's the big censorship is not so much censorship. The big thing is trying to identify hate speech. However, that same model can be used for censorship as well, right? If it can understand what the text is, if it can understand what this person's saying, it can understand that it doesn't want to see posts like that, right? So in that sense, it can be used for censorship, and that's you'll see that a lot more with platforms that in like China have had a lot of problems with stuff like that, right? Censorship. Their AI is very, very complex. They can use that to identify things that they don't want seen on their platform and get rid of it before anybody even knows that it was on there. But still very difficult. Right?
So to that point, so something we've actually seen, like Ryan and I have been spoken about this in the podcast. So a trigger word would be for the censorship that we've been experiencing. Well, not us personally, but would be like voter fraud. So that's a big trigger word nowadays.
And like one to boost is when you say hate straight white males. That one shoots up.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that doesn't actually happen.
No, I know. This is a joke. But just going off on Ian's point. So I think something we've been seeing a theme was voter fraud, of course. So you can't really speak about if you have differing opinions about whether or not the election was rigged or not. So once that trigger word pops up into the system, like Ian was explained just now, it's kind of taken down. And then, so now I also want to touch upon the fact that big companies and corporations actually control the censorship through AI. And I want to ask Ian this question, where do you think it's detrimental to have such large corporations have such an enormous amount of power with something like as great as AI? Because they can literally control the political atmosphere, for example, of how society believes on a certain topic.
And that's a good question. And that's something that's been kind of a hot topic for AI in recent years, because you have something that's, these tech companies are huge, right? They're essentially monopolies that control so much. The big question now is, when do you have government regulation, and how much government regulation should be done? So is it dangerous? Yeah, anytime somebody has ultimate power, it's dangerous. But you've heard a lot about people trying to break up these big companies, trying to regulate them, and that's more of a political question. That's not so much the on the what can you do with AI. It's more like what should you do, and that's a question that you don't need a degree or anything to answer.
Yeah, and just to jump in there, I mean, Steven Crowder.
Of course, yeah.
You know Steven Crowder?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, so his YouTube account was just taken down. He has the biggest conservative podcast.
Like, recently?
Yeah, he's on his second strike, so that means that he has a 2-week suspension, and now if he gets one more, then he's taken down completely.
Wow.
So he's filing a lawsuit against YouTube now. Just to relate it back to politics, Josh Hawley, the senator, is making a push against Section 230 to make these big tech companies liable for these actions, so you could sue Twitter if they deplatform you, and Ron DeSantis in Florida has already made that move that you can now take action against it. That's a big step too, that you can kind of give the individual the chance. You wish it didn't have to get to that,
right? Or
you trust us. Hey, you took our views away on TikTok. I'm suing you, and this will probably eventuate in 10 years. But that's kind of where we're getting now. But it's scary stuff for sure.
And just to build up on that, big tech has such a large amount of control, and for example, at least Steve Crowder, he's been in the hot seat for a minute now, and they've started off with demonetizing him first, and that didn't work, and he still got started censoring him, and that didn't work because a lot of people still viewed his videos.
He's got 5.87 million subscribers. I think he has more than Rogan.
He actually does, I think.
It's insane.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
And now with the second strike, I mean, obviously you could see how big platforms are trying to sway one way or the other, because obviously Steve Crowder's podcast is more of a conservative platform.
And just some stats, and then I'll pass it to you, and we can end up this first part. This is a 3-part series we're doing all about artificial intelligence. Speaking about political discourse, a Google researcher spoke about a couple years ago how about AI can be leveraged to make sure that politicians are listening to the people, which is true if Google's true interests are making sure that politicians are passing legislation that truly represents the American people. Which then you look at statistics that say in 2016, 2 million votes were shifted towards Hillary because of Google. Because when you would search Donald Trump, it would say Donald Trump is a sex offender, but Hillary Clinton has all these kids that she's giving free ice cream, and that would just be the Google search. So that's not very down the middle. And it said that almost 16 million votes were shifted this year because of Google. So they came out and they said we didn't do enough in 2016. Let's push that bar up in 2020, and they did, and they shifted a lot of votes. The Atlantic, doing a study on political discourse, said that 1/5 of tweets in about the 2016 election were done by bots.
Oh, bots. Most of what you see on the internet is bots
crazy?
nowadays.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
That's a huge amount.
And
there's bots on everything.
And this is all the 2016 election. That's billions of tweets. That's huge.
Yeah.
And I just want to mention one more, and then I'll give it to you. 1/3 of tweets, and it's not just America. 1/3 of tweets about the Brexit vote, which is in the United Kingdom, speaking about which countries are in and out of the Union, 1/3 of tweets were done by bots. So
wow,
this
that's
happens.
Huge.
Yeah, it's huge. It's amazing.
Yeah, and it's very difficult to differentiate what is a bot and what is not a bot, and that goes back to what I said that.
Are you a bot?
I am a bot. Yes.
Ian bot.
This is what artificial intelligence, at its peak. Very believable.
The Brilliant's at home controlling this scene right now.
Yeah, you almost thought I was real, right? But like I was saying before, that model that Google has, right? That can generate text. Bots can use it to generate stuff, and then there's other, like Google's model is available now. There's another company called OpenAI that's also, I believe, founded by Elon Musk and others. They have their own model called GPT-2 or something. And originally they didn't even put this out to the public because they were like, this can be used for such like terrible stuff. Like, we're going to make sure that we can create a model that can detect the model before we put this in public, so we know if anybody's like creating some
taking steps before it goes bad, which is
right.
what we talk about a lot. That's obviously a good thing to do.
But you see it with for the just random individual scrolling Twitter, you're not fact checking every tweet you see with some bot detection system. So it's very well. I mean, you may, but most people do not. So
I don't even have a Twitter, so I'm not doing that.
It's hard. It's those tweets are believable. They aren't like at some point I'll show you guys like some text written by it's a fun segment. Was this written by a bot or was this written by a 7th grader?
I can imagine it's impossible to.
It's very difficult to tell.
Yeah.
Like it's hard. So tweets, most tweets are at the 7th grade level. It's not that hard to write 8 words. It's not. It's very easy for a bot to
Donald Trump is fat.
But those 8 words are very powerful
because anybody can see them. It's very easy.
And if you have enough of them, if you see them enough in a row, then your opinion starts to change.
Definitely.
It's very easy to leverage this, the power of text generation.
Twitter is the base for the left side. Like that's like their military base.
And if I know you just said it was hard to decipher, but if these platforms actually want to get rid of the bots, can they? Because one thing that's been coming up a lot.
Yes and no.
It was, for example, Instagram. Instagram has a huge, I don't know, recently, somewhat relatively recently.
Yeah, you read a
Instagram has an insane amount of bots on like huge pages, and it's been a huge problem. You have to scroll down for like 10 minutes to get to the real comments. So a lot of people have been complaining about it. I mean, that was exaggeration, obviously. 10 minutes.
You can tell because our Instagram sucks. Like our Instagram has no followers.
Oh, yeah.
We get a bunch of comments from people just saying, "Check your DM."
Yeah,
follow this
all
Insta.
Bots.
All bots. Yeah,
yes, all bots.
Because I upload the thing on Instagram. I know we have 6 followers and we're 3 of them and Phil is one of them. And then I look at my app and I see 20 comments. And I'm just like, "Did we blow up?" And I look and it's just we didn't blow up.
It's just a bot.
A tear every time that happens.
And the thing about these bots is a lot of them aren't even are not sophisticated. Like you can create with AI you can create very sophisticated bots.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen like chatbots, right? This is essentially chatbots if they were used for just bullshit Instagram comments, right? So chatbots that's legit AI. It has to take what you say, understand it. When you go to Amazon, if you've ever had a package that was stolen, right? I've had a package that was stolen. Philadelphia, shout out Philly.
Nice.
So you go to the Amazon chatbot and you're like, my package was stolen. And there's not a person on the other side. It's an AI.
Not Jeff Bezos.
Well, sometimes.
Do you ever get through to him?
Every now and then. Oh, yeah.
Jeff, my package got stolen.
Yeah.
Jeff, where are you?
Yeah, I got him on speed dial. I'm like,
So Jeff Bezos every time.
Yeah. Hey Jeff, your drone's there. You gotta fix those drones.
If you call the AI Jeff over and over again, will it get mad at you?
No, because they don't know anger.
I just want to talk to Jeff. I don't want to talk.
Well, you can influence, and that's a fun point. You can influence these AI to get it to say certain things. So
Siri will give you some tongue sometimes if you say the wrong thing.
She got an attitude sometimes.
You talk about Cortana and Siri's like, "Excuse me, don't say that, please."
That is pre-programmed into to know that. It didn't learn that it was like it didn't learn that there was another Cortana, and it was like, oh, I got beef with that. It didn't learn that. We're not at that point yet. Because
learned beef.
If it learned that would be a little scary. That would be scary. That's a little tough. I lost my train of thought actually.
Going back to the original comment of can Instagram if they want to
bots,
get rid of the bots.
A lot of these, so like I said, you have these chatbots. That's complicated bot. You have like most of the bots on Instagram are not actually AI. They're not learning anything. It's just somebody pre-programmed a message in and just said okay and wrote a script that could just pre-populate all these Instagram posts, all these Instagram comments. Just find find post, comment, right? That's not actually AI, but you would need an AI to detect the bots, and it's difficult, right? Because how do we know that something is a bot? Because we see the Instagram handle. It's John 8K4212275, right? Because it's just a randomly generated
Isn't that Elon Musk's
username. Oh,
That's
yeah.
Bernard.
Isn't this his kid's name?
X,
Alpha, Omega, X.
Yeah, I remember half of
812.
bots are just Elon Musk's kid.
Yeah,
So
Yeah, of course.
you got to differentiate the two. But it's difficult because how do you differentiate? How do you know what is and is not a bot? Is it the way they type? Is it the way they talk? So there's two ways to go about it. Do you want to find an AI that can read through these comments and differentiate like the comments from like bot comments from not bot comments? That's, I would say, harder. And what I would say is probably an easier way is for Instagram to kind of just look at when these posts, like look at a user, see when they post. Like, are they posting like at inhuman speeds? Right.
Yeah.
Are they just posting on every possible post they can
that's
find?
the thing. Once I post
Right.
those Instagram posts, it's instant.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's probably an easy way to detect it. The only issue is that, there are people that literally just post their shit everywhere. It's just like, hey, follow my thing, check out my music, real blah, 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 right? And those are real people, some of them. A lot of them are bots, but some of them are real people, and you don't want to just, cut off the real people.
And you can tell it's a real person because when it's a real person, they say to us, the Democrats can do whatever they want because Joe Biden won the election. Right? They say stuff like that. Bots don't say that.
True story, though.
True story. It's
Yeah.
great. Watch our TikTok and read our comments if you want to see some really fun stuff about how people's girlfriends are trying to kill them and tasers work when they don't work. And it's great.
That's actually not even an exaggeration. That's verbatim what happened on.
Yeah.
Like, that's actually the whole reason why we got shadow banned. like, seriously.
But I have said my words for this one.
I've said my words, but I think more so like closing comments and themes.
Mm-hmm.
I think AI is an amazing technological advancement that we should take advantage of. And it does have a huge, not huge difference, but it's more so like as we grow and take more time with AI, it'll become way different. We'll be able to use it more than we've been able to use computer science because it's more of a fixed type of entity kind of thing.
Yeah, you can do a lot. You can do a lot with it.
Yeah.
You can do a lot with it. And most of it is good.
Yeah.
So I know we're gonna be touching on some actual applications of AI in the next video, but most of it is good.
Yeah.
And what Ian means by that is we're going to talk about how tomorrow when you show up to work, there's going to be a robot where you're supposed to be. So we can get into that now.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you soon.
Next video.
Peace out.